Yes, indeed. We are in full playoff mode here on Total Hockey Now. We are a defensive pairing today. No at Ant Rivera 86 on baby duty and tattoo the next week. Not tattooing the baby. Let's just be clear. He's getting a tattoo. I don't know what it's of. I said it was of a very forlorn looking Mr. Met. We'll see if that's what it is when he's done. Nonetheless, at Fuzzy Chris 91, at Pucking Thoughts over here. We're going to get you through all the games tonight. All the games tomorrow. We're going to look at the Flyers-Hurricane series as Philly punches their ticket last night. And we'll also talk about Colorado versus Minnesota. Dallas obviously going to face one of them in the second round. Maybe we'll know tonight. Maybe not be until Saturday. We don't know. Either way, can either of those teams give Colorado a fit? We'll discuss. But nonetheless, here we are. We got two big games tonight on the docket. We got Minnesota-Dallas Game 6 and Anaheim-Edmonton Game 6. So both Game 6s out in the West. How are we feel before we get to those games, though? Montreal coming off a big road win last night. How are we feeling?
Listen, vibes are good. Vibes are definitely high. They did not go to overtime. It was back-to-back games where they don't go to overtime, which is shocking, but good for my heart. These overtime games, man, are yesterday I was watching Mammoth and the Golden Knights. I passed out because, those West Coast games are bad. I woke up because I had to go to the bathroom, and then they were just in the second overtime. And I was like, well, I might as well stay up and watch. And Brett Howden took care of business. I was like, well, that's a good way to do things. So, listen, it's good for Montreal. They come back home. They're in the driver's seat. You're never in trouble until you lose a game at home. And the Tampa Bay Lightning are in trouble because they've lost 2 at home now. So, Habs are in the driver's seat here. They can close things out. It's been a while since they've been in this position. Team is vastly different than it was 5 years ago. They made their run. So if you think this series is over, it's not over until that last 0 hits the board and you're ahead by at least 1 goal. That's what I'm going to say, because Tampa Bay is way too good. They've won, obviously, Stanley Cups. They know what it takes to be. If you count them out now, you're doing yourself a just. I will be locked in tomorrow, and then Saturday, either two things happen. I'm going to be in a fantastic mood, probably a little bit banged up, or I'm going to be extremely sad, and maybe I sleep in until 11 and listen to some sad music.
It could either be an awesome Friday night or maybe a little pensive until waiting for a potential Game 7 on Sunday, if that's the case there. Yeah, we'll get to the 3 Friday games as well: Lightning-Canadiens, Sabres-Bruins, Golden Knights-Mammoth as well. But let's not wait anymore. Let's get going with the Thursday night games here. We got 2 on the board. Here's a look at the Western Conference bracket. Avalanche obviously advanced. They a while ago. They are drinking by the pool and enjoying their time off here while waiting Minnesota and Dallas. And we got 2 3-2 series out west there. First game we're going to discuss is the first one tonight, 7:30 p.m. Eastern puck drop here. Going to be the Minnesota Wild hosting the Dallas Stars with a chance to close Dallas out. On the money line, Minnesota favorite at -122, Dallas +102, road dogs. Total 5.5. If you want to take one on the puck line, Minnesota to cover 2 is +200. If you think Dallas could somehow cover 2 in a victory, it's +225. Regulation victory +130 for Minnesota and +155 for Dallas here. One of the things that we've, I keep hearing about this series, and it's true, is Minnesota has been the better team. Obviously, they're up 3-2, but they're outplaying Dallas a lot. Dallas is hanging on very much in this series here. Now, I think they could get the series back to 7, but, Minnesota has looked like the better team through 5 games so far.
Listen, the Minnesota Wild had to build their team in order to get through the Central, and they're holding Dallas in check. It's been a very tight series, but the same names that you would expect from the Minnesota Wild are doing their damage, right? It's the Kaprizovs of the world, it's the Matt Boldies of the world, but it's also some of the guys that they went to go get, like Michael McCarron's, that insurance goal there at the end. He has fit in as a wonderful 4th line centerman here, but I'm greedy. I want to see 7 games because we should be treated to 7 games in this series. I feel like it's only fair. If we're going to get a Western Conference final matchup in the first round, might as well treat it to a full 7 games. And the series has been nothing short of fantastic. I've been watching a ton of it. It's been Jesper Wallsted's show, and he has been very, very good. Jason Robertson has proven that he is worth every single dollar of the absolute Burks truck that he's going to get. Wyatt Johnston again as well, doing what he needs to do. There's still some guys in that lineup that I think have to pick it up a little bit. Haven't really seen a ton of Mikko Rantanen. I think this is where the Moose gets going, but it's been fantastic. And with someone who has no skin in this game, it's great to tune in, watch, and not have to deal with the stress, but knowing you're going to get a fantastic game.
Just a couple of stat nuggets on this one tonight. Dallas hasn't scored 5-on-5 since the first period of Game 3. Mikko Rantanen has at least 1 point in his last 11 elimination games. Dallas 9 for 23 on the power play, at least one power play goal game so far. Talked about Jason Robertson, 5-game goal streak and 8 straight in the playoffs going back to last season. This is the first time Minnesota has a chance to advance to the second round since 2015. That's what they're trying to do. No Jonas Brodin with a lower body injury. Matt Boldy has 4 goals in the series and 6 goals in his last 9 games against Dallas. Interesting little power play nugget here. Minnesota 3 for 7 with Matt Zuccarello as in the lineup. 1 for 15 without him on that power play unit there. And Kaprizov is tied with Leon Draisaitl for the lead in playoffs. For leading the playoffs in points with 9. I'm going to take Zuccarello 1+ point minus 130 here. I mean, he's on that top line there. He's going to, even if it's a secondary assist, I think he's likely to get one, whether it's power play or 5-on-5. I would lean over in this game. Maybe like a 4-2. I know sometimes in elimination games, teams tend to buckle down. That really hasn't been the way this series has gone. And I would take the Stars on the money line plus, it's plus 102 there. I saw it at plus 110 somewhere else earlier today. So I'm going to grab that. And I think we're going to see 7.
I already had the Matt Boldy over 3.5 shots. I feel like he is just he's generating so much offense. He's generating so many quality chances. So I penciled that in the minute I woke up. It was a much better number than I thought it would be. I thought it would be a lot higher. Yes, I got it at I think it was like minus 15 or something, which was still pretty good. I took that and I ran with it. But I listen, the money here is coming in on the over, yet the public thinks that it's going to be an under. So I'm not going to touch the over under because I don't think there's any like true lean. This game could be one that stays really, really close. And then if somebody takes off in the third period or scores a late goal, all of a sudden we get like 2 empty net goals and we push the out of it. I will also go with the Dallas money line. I just think that this is where they have to earn it, right? Getting Dallas at plus money, I feel like is good. They haven't been terrible. They've won 2 games. They've been able to win a game in Minnesota as well. So I would take their chances here on the road. Jake Onger he was decent on the road this season. He hasn't been as terrible as I thought he would be. So I'm going to give him an opportunity here to prove me right. If he lets me down, I mean, I don't know. Listen, it's Jake Onger, right?
Dallas has already won a close game in Minnesota this series. And for what it's worth, Ottinger's got a 7-6 record in elimination games with a .920 save percentage and a 3.6 goals against. So yeah, I see him stepping up and buckling down. If it goes to a 7th game, then who knows? But yeah, I like Dallas to at least get us to a 7th game. I think there are definitely 2 series that are going to go 7. We'll see if we get 3. I doubt we're going to get 4. But I think this one, if you were if you said pick any series, that's for sure to go 7. Even at this stage of the playoffs, I would still lean with this one. So there we go. So both of us on the Stars money line. I got Zuccarello with a point, 1+ point at minus 130, and Chris looking at Matt Boldy score as well. Next up here, the second game of the night, the back half of the doubleheader. Game 6, Anaheim leading the Edmonton Oilers 3-2, but Edmonton looking really sharp. And game 5 with their season on the line at home, taking care of business. Edmonton 4 of 8 on the power play over their last 3 games. Evan Bouchard has played a part in all of those goals. This is the first time Anaheim looking to advance to the second round for the first time since 2017, which they did against Edmonton. Anaheim has allowed the first goal in every game of the series and has been outscored 9-3 in the first period. Anaheim 7 for 14 on the power play, at least 1 power play goal per game so far. And Anaheim 11-4 all time in potential series clinching games on home ice there. Connor Ingram versus Lucas Dostal tonight. I know the game 5, the scoring in the series came back a little bit. It came back down a little bit more to earth. And I know the 6.5 is probably too juicy at this point, but I'm taking the alt over 7.5, plus 145. Both games in Anaheim are 7 or more goals. I'm not fooled by that low scoring affair in game 5. Edmonton was able to get the matchups they wanted and were able to buckle down. They jumped Dostal early. Luke, he's allowed 3 or more goals in all but one game and 3.5 goals average per game in Anaheim there. Edmonton has the momentum, and I think they push the pace. So the first and fifth best over teams in the league. Anaheim was 3rd best over team at home this season. Edmonton 9th best on the road there. So that's where I'm looking, at least for a side or a total. Where are you on this one?
Man, I want to trust the under here. I can't get behind that. Not in this series. Like you, I'm not going to be fooled by one game. I can see this though being a closer affair. Like in order for the set, like in order for 8 goals to happen, you need like a 4-4 game and then probably some overtime, right? Or because if you do get stuck in that 3-3 window, you're in trouble here. I am going to take Connor Ingram in his save total, which is it's currently sitting at 26.5. I'll take the over at it. The Ducks have had no trouble generating offense on home ice. They're going to get the matchups that they want. We saw them, I think it was game 4, where they basically generated like 20 shots on goal. I mean, the Oilers were better at home, but it's still leaky. And they're still not a good defensive team. Like, let's not get it twisted. This Oilers defense is not anywhere near where it needs to be successful. Connor Ingram had a good game. I think he can continue to do that, but he's going to have to stand on his head here, at least to start, right? As that second period goes, the long change comes in. Maybe we see both sides tighten up a little bit, but in order for the Oilers to win, I think Connor Ingram has to play his part. So asking him to make somewhere around 30 saves is not asking him for a ton. And if we do get some overtime, which would be fantastic, that always plays into it. At this time of year, once teams go to overtime, I mean, there's either 2 ways overtime goes. It's over in the first 5 minutes, or brew yourself a pot of coffee. You're going to be here a while, right? There is no middle. That's it. There's no middle. It's over early or strap in for the long haul. So I'm going to go with Connor Ingram over 26.5 saves. I think you can get it like minus 110 in most places. I can't trust either team to win this game because the goaltending in this matchup has been atrocious. And yeah, there's no way I'm betting the under here. I can't get behind it. It looks enticing, but I can't go that route.
No, I mean, I said this last week. Leopards don't change their spots. These are teams that like to push the pace. Game 5, Edmonton season's on the line. They're at home. They could get the better matchups they want. So, I'm not picking a side on this one. I like the alt total over 7.5. I do have 2 props, though. Cutter Gauthier, 4+ shots on goal, minus 140. Anaheim's going to be able to get their Carlson, Gauthier, Terry line in some better positions to do stuff tonight and still have the last change. The other prop I like here is Leon Draisaitl, 2+ points, plus 105. He's had 2 points in all but one game in this series. Been one of the driving forces for the Edmonton offense. He is trying to take a load off of a visibly banged up Connor McDavid, but all signs point to him going tonight. I do like that you're going goalie prop there, though. I got a goalie prop in the game coming up. Now, comment in the chat, our buddy Craig, if the Ducks win, I can't see McDavid staying in Edmonton. How about this? Edmonton could go on a run and win a Stanley Cup this year, and I don't see McDavid staying in Edmonton anyway. Like, I just, unless they make drastic changes to put a competent goalie back there, like even if they win this year, but everything else remains status quo, why would he stay? Why would he come back? So unless the goaltending is addressed, he's not going to be in Alberta past next year.
I find it hard for a guy who is so competitive, right? Like even though McDavid is like, he's banged up. The question of, it was yesterday I was putting the playbook over at fans. They're like, oh, is there a chance that McDavid doesn't play? I was like, unless I see his obituary, he's playing. And then his post game was like when they had asked him on TNT, he was like, was there any chance you were not playing? He was like, no, there's no chance he wasn't playing. He's going to go out there and he is going to do whatever he can. Now, his B game is an A+ game for every other player in the NHL. So even if the speed is not at the level that it needs to be, you could see the explosions are not there. It's been a little bit more difficult. It's probably something bothering his knee. And when he's turning at that elite level, right, and the speed and everything, like, of course it's going to affect a player who relies on that a ton to separate himself. But where do you go from here if you're McDavid and you want to win? Don't forget, at the national level, he has played next to guys who have Stanley Cup rings on their fingers, right? He's played, for Canada with Nathan McKinnon, and he's played with Sidney Crosby, who is royalty, right, for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Like, he wants to win, and it's not like he hasn't given Edmonton every single opportunity to do it. He literally took a discount and said, "Hey, go out and make this team better." They did some things, but they didn't address the goaltending. They went out and they got Tristan Jarry, and I think that experiment has been probably the worst one. Like, it's not like Stuart Skinner's any better, but I don't think he was the reason that the Penguins lost. And on this side, like, you're asking Connor Ingram to do something he was never supposed to do. He was never supposed to lead this team in the playoffs at any given point. This was somebody else's job, and nobody has taken it. So if they do get eliminated, it's gonna be Connor that decides what he wants to do. But I would be really uneasy if I was an Edmonton fan. If you were uneasy before, you're going to be uneasy now, because he has a legitimate reason to say, "Hey, we don't need to run this back. I'll go somewhere else where I can win."
Here's the other thing too. You beat Anaheim, but you lose to Vegas in the second round. Like, you can almost stomach that to a degree. Like, hey, they've had a couple of deep runs that caught up with you lose to an Anaheim team that you or I would have a chance at maybe getting a couple of shots on goal and maybe even scoring at that point. Like, that's a problem. Here's the other thing. This is McDavid's 11th season in Edmonton. I want to put it to you like this. If you were in a long-term relationship with somebody for 11 years and you wanted to put the ring on the finger, you're getting right, but there is one thing about that relationship that you cannot ignore, cannot look past, and your partner makes no effort to change it, despite the fact that you know that that's the one thing in the relationship that is undermining it year in and year out, whether it's pick whatever character flaw you want to put in, you're not proposing, you're leaving. You're not signing up for more of that. After a certain point, it's like, hey, I've had 11 seasons to address what has consistently been an issue pretty much every season since I've been here. Why would I say?
If she calls boneless wings chicken nuggets, it's like she's not getting a ring. So that's
your stand. That's fine.
There basically it. There you go. So some, but you're right. Something's got to happen here, and it's not good. It's not good.
All right, so to recap the Thursday picks, we're both on the Stars money line plus 102. I've got Matt Zuccarello 1+ point minus 130. Chris has anytime goal for Boldy, if I remember correctly.
No, the shots over 3.5 shots. He's probably going to score too, but I mean, you know what? Might as well speak that into the universe.
Boldy over 3.5 shots on goal. And then for Edmonton, Anaheim, I'm taking the alt over 7.5 plus 145. Cutter Gauthier 4+ shots on goal minus 140. Leon Draisaitl 2+ points plus 105. Hey, if I think it's going to be an 8-goal affair, I got to at least get some props in there to make it happen. You're on Connor Ingram over 26.5 saves. Now we're going to go to the Friday slate. And before we do that, let's take a look at the Eastern Conference, because there's 2 big Eastern Conference matchups on Friday. We already know Carolina, Philly in the second round. We'll get to that a little bit later. Now, I know first on the clock is Tampa Bay, Montreal, but we're going to save that. We'll go to Buffalo, Boston first. Make Chris wait just a little bit longer to talk about his team there. We're talking Bruins, Sabres here. Bruins live to see another day, push it to a game 6 after winning yesterday. Looking on the money line for game 6, Buffalo slight road favorites minus 118, minus 102 for the Bruins at home. Total is 5.5 on the puck line. For Buffalo to cover a puck and a half on the road plus 215. If you think Boston wins by 2, it's plus 210. Regulation victory plus 135 for Buffalo, plus 145 for Boston there. Looking at this one, I had Bruins in 6 to win the series. Obviously, that's not going to happen now. But I don't know. I think after looking bad for a couple of games at home, this was the second best home team in the NHL this year. Is Boston really going to lose all 3 games at home to Buffalo? I just don't see that happening. I would lean under 5.5 plus 102 with the way Alex Lyon has been playing and Jeremy Swayman getting back into form last game. But I like the Boston money line here, minus 102. And you also took a goalie prop in the last game. Jeremy Swayman, over 25.5 saves, minus 130. Buffalo averaging almost 33 shots per game throughout the series. I think Buffalo's going to try and pepper Swayman and try and get the series taken care of without it at Boston going back to Buffalo. But I do think Boston wins.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the under here as well. Both these teams, I think the goaltending on the Boston side has always been good. It's just the Bruins have been leaving Swayman out to dry. Like that game 4 was just like it's beyond unacceptable. They left him out. It was through no fault of his own. His team just did not want to help him.
And he let his bench know about it too.
Yeah, he did. He made sure they knew how terrible they were. And I think that got them through game 5 a little bit. And, you count on your best players when the moment is needed. And David Pastrnak showed up to the shock to literally nobody. What a fantastic pass. Good finish. Alex Lyon has been very, very good. He has solidified that goaltending position. It's not that Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen was bad. It wasn't to the level that it needed to be. Lyon has come in. He has demonstrated that he can do this. He was the guy at different points this season for Buffalo. So he's done it. This is going to be a goaltending battle. I also think both these teams are going to stay extremely disciplined. We've seen series as they go. There's less of that punching in front of the net kind of scrums and stuff. Like we've seen this one in the Montreal series. All of a sudden, most of these series as they go along, like your opponent and you don't want to give that. You don't want to take that bad penalty. So now you're just, you're exchanging pleasantries. You're saying, hey, man, where are you off to? Is it Cancun? Are you heading to Jamaica once you get eliminated? Everything is casual. We're going to the net. We're playing hard, but we're not getting into those scrums outside the whistles, which benefits the Bruins because they were an undisciplined team during the year. We'll see what their entire lineup looks like here. See if Victor Arvidsson gets in. That was a big loss there. Again, the under for me here is in place. I could see this being a little bit like the game that we saw last night between the Penguins and the Flyers.
Yes.
Like it wasn't the most entertaining hockey game on TV. I can guarantee you that. But a typical, one goal wins it, and you can't make a mistake. So both these teams are, I would say, above average defensively. The goaltending is there. The offense can do some damage, but tight-knit hockey game, a lot of dump and chase, a lot of cycling the pucks. Both things teams can do here. So I'm going to take the under and hope the empty net goal doesn't bite me.
Yeah, this looks like a 3-1 kind of final here to me. I agree. Again, it's an elimination game. Nobody wants to make, and it's got a different vibe than Dallas, Minnesota, where I think like tonight's game could be 2-1 or it could be 6-4. Like that game could go, whereas this, I would be very surprised to see an up and down, 40 plus shots on goal from either team. But I do think you'll see Buffalo try to get to Swayman a little bit more and pepper him and see if they can get under his skin again. I like the saves prop there for Swayman over 25.5. But yeah, I think we're going 7 here. I think Boston, wins a close one. I think we're heading to 7 in this one. And, it's been a good series. It hasn't been as good as some of the other ones, but this is right there. I would say this has been the 4th best series of the first round. So, and if
vibes have been high in Buffalo. Vibes have been high. It's a party. So good for them for being in the position that they are. But the hardest game to win is the clinching one, is the 4th game of any series. So this is where the Sabres got to dig deep and they got to find that, somebody's got to be a hero. Don't know who, but somebody's got to be a hero.
And the other thing with the Sabres, now that they've gone to Lyon, and Lyon, I know they kind of had a balance, not a balance, but it was a little bit of Lyon, a little bit of UPL, a little bit of Colton Ellis at some points this year. Alex Lyon's the guy, but they've played that card now. If Alex Lyon has a bad outing or two, that would not be well for Buffalo. I don't think you could go back to Luukkonen. So see how the Sabres-Bruins goes on Friday night tomorrow. Now, the next game up on the docket here, and this is one Chris is very excited for. Montreal. Did you think Montreal would be leading 3-2 coming home game 6, or did you think it would be the other way around trying to push a 7? Because I thought it would be the other way around. Kudos to them, though.
I mean, listen, I thought this was going to 7. I had originally given the Lightning the edge just because of all the experience that they had and the way this team competes and everything. As the series gone, I was definitely disappointed that they didn't go into Tampa up 3-1, right? Had they gone up 3-1, lost this game, you're like, it doesn't matter. You come home, you take care of business. But, just the way that this game was played and the way that everything goes through, again, I'm not gonna harp on officials because holy have they been absolutely horrendous
For both sides, though.
for every side. They're just absolutely terrible. But the Montreal Canadiens came out and the injection of Brendan Gallagher, the ultimate warrior of hockey. This man might die at 50, because he gave his body to the game that he loves. But he comes in, scores a quick goal. It's like you knew it was going to happen. The hockey gods rewarded you. Some questionable calls didn't go there. Tampa Bay found an edge, even though Montreal was giving up those terrible 2-on-1s. I mean, Mike Matheson decided to take a rocket, misses the net, goes the other way. But again, it's Montreal's third line that really kicked in. There's been a lot of conversations at different times about Zach Bolduc and the way that he plays. Kirby Dach, we know all the stuff that's happened with him, the injuries. Alex Texier, who basically came off the streets, right, when he was out, from St. Louis. And this line has been clicking. Montreal's bottom 6 has all the points 5-on-5. So the Montreal Canadiens top 6 does not have a 5-on-5 point. We are heading into game 6. So it's been a minute now, right? Somebody's going to have to step up. But if you told me the Montreal Canadiens would have a 3-2 lead without your top 6 having a singular point 5-on-5, I'd be like, yeah, we take that. We go home and we figure it out. Montreal Canadiens are going to get the better matchup as well. I mean, it's about finding space for Nick Suzuki, right? It has been extremely tough doing all the other things that he's good at, right? All the other things that you want your elite centerman to do. For Cole Caulfield, it's definitely been a process. He was the 4th least used forward yesterday. It's fine because the Canadiens scored early. We don't need him out there defending. That's not the role that he's playing. Everybody else, the jobs that they need to do, they're coming out. But at some point, your best players have to be your best players. They have to find space. You either it's either given to you because the other team makes a mistake or you create it, right? You don't score 51 goals in the NHL and all of a sudden say, hey, I can't find space. You got to find a way to do it. And we've seen that if you put pucks on, Andrei Vasilevsky, there's a chance they go in. That third goal was brutal. That's a save you have 99 out of 100 times. So they're in a good spot here. I expect a very, very tight game. I do not expect Tampa Bay to get out of the system that they want to use. It's not going to be as heavy run and gun. It's going to be waiting for your chances. It's going to be hoping you benefit from one of those, high sticking penalties. This series has seen a ton of minor penalties, whether they've been earned or not. There's been a ton. So each side's going to try to take advantage. The power play has not been great for either team, but if you give teams chances to beat you, they will. Tampa Bay needs to find that depth, right? Because it's only the top 6 that's doing damage 5-on-5. That bottom 6 has been irrelevant. I have the same number of points as whoever's on the bottom 6 for the Tampa Bay Light. Close game. All this to say I'm going with the under. That's where I'm going with this. It feels like an under game. I can't even take any of the props because this could be one of the most, the lowest shooting game that we see. I don't know who's hitting 3 or 4 shots in this game. I don't even think either goalie can hit their goaltending props, even if we played 2 extra periods, which I hope we don't. Vasilevsky, for DFS purposes, I was telling somebody yesterday, even if he wins, he's not seeing enough shots. He's giving up too many goals. It's not even worth the value. So a lot going on here. The building's going to be buzzing, right? Harness that energy. You've been here before. You've won on home ice. Close it out. Let's move on.
Tampa Bay Slight Road favorites -115, Montreal -105. Total, like you said, 5.5. Puck line for Tampa Bay +225 to cover a puck and a half. Think Montreal wins by 2. It's +210. Tampa +135 to win in regulation. Montreal +145. Although I don't know who's doing any regulation victory bets in this series. It's like betting on the Kings to win in regulation. Who would do that?
If you take the in regulation win, you're just
give the money. Money to us.
Yeah, you just put it in I don't know, donate it, get a tax refund. You know what I mean? I get the last 2 games have been in regulation, but nobody was sitting there going, yeah, that's possible. I was even the 3-way money line, like for the overtime is now below plus 300 because even Vegas is like, it's not even like a 33% chance. We're talking about the odds of it going to overtime sometimes sitting at 50.
I was able to get it plus 300 earlier today on DraftKings. Listen, I bet that last week and it hit, and I know the last 2 haven't, but this feels like an overtime game 6 where Chris is gonna have a heart attack, throw a remote at the wall. Something's gonna. Well, don't throw the remote at the wall.
I would like if we could get this over with. Pretty nice and painless. A little, 4-1 win would be great. It's not going to happen because this series has been tied or within 1 goal for like 98% of the time. So, listen, I've aged at least 2 years, if not more. Like, one day I'll be like, man, I wish I had 2 extra years on my life. And they'll be like, oh, why? Were you an excessive drinker? Were you smoking like a chimney? I was like, no, I was watching the Habs in the playoffs, 2026 in the first round against Tampa. And they'll be like, oh, I get it.
Now, we gave up picks for the Thursday games as well. So you want to go, if you're just joining us, feel free to go back and get our Stars, Wild, and Oilers Ducks takes there. Nate Air 13. Clearly a Western New York guy with the old picture of Orchard Park. And the Bills moving into a new stadium, but he's got Sabres in 6 there. So he thinks Buffalo closes it out tomorrow night in Boston. Craig checking in. Crazy to think 8 weeks ago we were debating the 3-headed goalie dragon in Montreal. And now Dobesh has a lock on the net, is out playing the best netminder in the world. Jakob Dobesh's coming out party essentially over the last 6 weeks or so. There's no question anymore who the starting goaltender is in Montreal, at least for now. I know Jacob Fowler is on the rise, and he's a guy coming up. But Dobesh has been, I'll put it to you like this. If the Czechs were going to have an Olympic hockey team today, Dobesh is your guy. Like, without a doubt.
The Czechs have 4 different goalies.
It's the golden age of Czech goaltending. Like, I understand Hasek is the best, and but you got Vladar, Dobesh.
And Vladar was fantastic in his series as well. Like, what is in the water over there? All of a sudden, the Czechs just producing goalies. And I will say this, I thought Tampa had the edge because, it's Andrei Vasilevsky. He's a future first ballot Hall of Famer. And Dobesh has come to the party and said, not right now, put your Russian vodka down. I don't know what they drink over there in Czechia, whatever their beverage of choice is. But and as this series has gone, he said it as well in his interview. That's like he's at ease, right? It's calmer. It's not as quick. Now you've been through 5 games. You know what you're waiting for. The nerves and all that stuff. It doesn't hit as hard. And he also likes, the least amount of physicality in front of his net and all that stuff going on. I think Tampa Bay needs to pull out that, get into his face a little bit, make life difficult.
Like you saw Kucherov trying to do earlier in the series.
Yeah, because you want to rattle the kid a little bit or get him worked up. He can definitely get himself worked up. It just feels like since game 2 and everything has calmed down afterwards, he's been that much better. And kudos to him. He's making the saves when he needs to make it. He's keeping his team alive when need be. He's a big presence there. He's challenging shots. Sometimes he is so far, he's so far out. He's already at Ottawa. And I'm just like, what if it goes left? But he's got that confidence that the rest of the guys around him are going to pick up, the guys that they need to. That's good team defense, and he's challenging shots. It has been fun to watch. He is also fully embraced the stereotype that goalies are weird, because he is up there in being a weirdo as a goalie.
If I had a goalie that was normal, I don't know if I'd be comfortable with that.
I would call somebody and say, hey, this goalie is normal. But give
me a quirk. Give me something.
He's not normal. He's not normal. You watch all the little things that he's doing. I'm like, buddy, you're different.
It's like with my beer league team. If my goalie is one of the first people ready, I'm like, oh, we're not winning. Right? We don't feel good unless he's coming out to ice with 90 seconds to go on warmups. That's what we're used to.
You're getting on the ice and he's walking into the dressing room, be like, hey boys, let me go take a whiz before as well.
Yeah. And the other thing I do like for this game before we move on to Vegas, Utah, which I think has been, you could argue, been the best series of the first round. I like Jake Gensel anytime goal plus 210. He's got 8 points in the series. He scored in the last two. Montreal is going to take advantage of that home change and try and shut down Hagel, Point, Kucherov. That leaves Gensel with a slightly better matchup. His shot has looked good. He's got 14 through 5 games, and he's gotten multiple shots in every game. He failed to get a shot on goal in game 3. So Gensel, I think, gets there's not going to be a lot of offense, but I think he does get one of the goals that does go in there. I'm not picking a side here. I'm not picking a total. Like I said, I'm going to go to overtime plus 300. This was the only series of the first round that I legitimately could not pick a winner or pick a series score. I just bet it to go to 7. That was it. So one other thing we should talk about before we move on is Victor Hedman. I don't want to say Tampa misses him because it makes it seem like that they're so far out of the series, but a Victor Hedman in the lineup, and maybe it's a 3-2 series the other way, or maybe his presence out there, it's missed. I'm not saying Tampa desperately misses him, but you take even at his age, you take a guy like him out of the lineup, and it has an impact.
No, 100%. Listen, just the mental part of not having your captain there, right? You can say all the things you want, but having them out there with you, we've seen Tampa Bay in the past. I mean, remember when Steven Stamkos literally couldn't skate, came back, scored that one goal, and then couldn't play again because he was hobbling on one leg. That type of the injection of energy that it brings from having a leader be back in your lineup, it's infectious to the whole team. So the loss definitely has been felt for the Tampa Bay Lightning there. Whether they want to say yes or no, it's been felt.
That's the thing. You don't want to say that because he's away from the team for personal reasons. The guy's dealing with whatever he's got to deal with. The last thing you want is for him to be like, I let my team down because I went to go take it. But yeah, like you said, not having your captain does make a difference. One more game to get to here. We got the Vegas Golden Knights up 3-2 on the Utah Mammoth game. 6 going to be tomorrow night at 10 o'clock Eastern. I will say last night, I did my best to make it to the end. I made it into the second overtime. I put the phone on the pillow next to me to lean it up. And I must have fallen asleep like 2-3 minutes before the goal happened. It was like, I was right there the whole way. But anyway, Vegas, slight road favorites, minus 115, Utah minus 105 at home. Totals 5.5. Puck line for Vegas to cover is plus 215. If you think Utah can cover a puck and a half, plus 210, or minus a puck and a half is plus 210. Regulation victory plus 135 or plus 145 there for either for Vegas and Utah respectively here. For me in this one, I'm going to take the over 5.5 minus 122. I know the first 3 games of the series, his total was hovering right around that number, but the last 2 games have been 9-goal affairs. I think the floodgates have opened a bit offensively to a degree. Both games in Utah and this series cleared the mark, and Utah was 24-17 to the over at home this season. I don't think we're going to get 9 goals again, but I think we get at least 6 here. Utah allows 3.6 goals per game, Vegas 3.4 during the playoffs. Things have been chippy as well, and Utah's got to be careful because Vegas has had the better special teams on both sides, both penalty kill and power play. So I would lean Utah money line if I had to pick a side, but it wouldn't shock me to see Vegas ride the 2 overtime victory momentum to close out the series. But I do like the over 5.5 either way.
College fund on the over, man. I can't believe we're getting it at 5.5 at a reasonable price. It seems like the Carter Hart that brief, that kind of like, when you think spring shows up and then, well, maybe you don't know, Adam, but like sometimes you think spring shows up and then all of a sudden like 30 centimeters of snow hits. You're like, fake spring. We got fake Carter Hart for a little bit. We thought he was back to being like good because John Tortorella showed up, and now he's showing signs that, he's cracking. The wall isn't as strong as we thought it was. That in 5 of these games, the total has gone over. So seeing it still at 5.5, especially after the last game that we saw 9 goals. I thought this would have opened at 6 to start with. Last 2, correct. I thought this would have opened at 6. So if you're going to get at 5.5 and you're watching this now, you got to hammer the over now, because by the time you wake up tomorrow, right, or you wake up at 4 a.m. to go to the bathroom, it's too late. It's already at 6. And now you got to move down to 5.5, and it's not great value. So if you can get it at about, right, minus 22, minus 125, I would even go as far as minus 130 and say, okay, that's where I cut the line off. But the over here, you probably don't have to wait for an empty net goal either to get there. there's not enough stability in Carter Hart right now. And I don't think it's because Vegas is playing poorly defensively. You have to give Utah some credit. Their offense is doing the part that they need to do. Vejmelka all year had good numbers, but
he's fine, but he's not.
The save percentage wasn't there, right? The wins were there. He was packing up the wins. He still lost 20 games all the year, but like it's nothing elite. It's not elite, and Vegas has more than enough options up front to be able to bury him. So there's too much skill on the ice, and the goaltending is too average, I would say, for this to be a low scoring affair. So I'm already hammering the over. I already did. So
the thing is, you look at all the other series, you look at other series, and you're like, can that goalie steal a game? Yeah, sure. Like, like Dobesh, Vasilevsky, absolutely. Those guys could, Swayman could steal a game. Alex Lyon could steal it. I don't look at either of these goalies thinking like, okay, like somebody's going to slam the door shut tomorrow night. So yeah, I love the over here. Like I said, if I had to pick a side, maybe it's more of my heart that I'm leaning towards Utah to get it to a 7th game. But like I said, I could see Vegas absolutely after you win in double overtime like that. Sometimes that can kill you if you're Utah, and that can sometimes propel you if you're Vegas.
It was a shorthanded too, and it was just Vegas on basically a full press. And Howden just walks out and takes a shot, and I'm like, there's no way a shorthanded goal. Like when I got, again, because I fell asleep. If you fell asleep, I was already like 3 hours into like dreams. I just couldn't believe it said shorthanded, Howden. I was like, how did we get here?
Kudos to Henrik Lundqvist, who said, he said Brett Howden to score the winner. They always say, and mission who you got. He had Howden. I mean, granted, he picked him because he's a former teammate. Still, he got it right.
He did have Jakub Dobes ranked like the 5th best goalie in the first round. So I do take offense to that. He will always be a Ranger. So just
I know you feel
not a fan. Good looking guy, fantastic broadcaster. Just hate that he was a Ranger.
Never a hair out of place. He was one of People's Magazine's 50 most beautiful people on the planet, at least once, if not. I think a guy like that probably got on the list a couple of times. But yeah, if you're going back to the total here, it's -120 at Bet365, -128 is the FanDuel, everything in between there. But like you said, I think you wake up tomorrow. You haven't seen a lot of 6s out there. You've seen 5.5s and 6.5s and even a 7 in the Edmonton Anaheim series. You haven't seen a ton of 6s. This one could push up to 6 tomorrow. But we both love the over on this one. We've gone through all 5 games that are still remaining in the first round, at least to this point. So feel free to go back if you're just joining us for picks for the Thursday or Friday night games. But we do have one second round series that we know of right now. Everything else hanging in the balance. But Philly, Carolina, you can, there it is. Going to happen. The series is going to kick off on Monday night, May 4th at 7:00 Eastern time. Carolina went 3-0-1, Philly 1-0-3. A couple of those meetings came very, very early in the season, but Philly has played them close. I think all the games were 1-goal affairs that they lost. Yeah, they had to have been because they were all 3, extra shootout or overtime. Looking at the series, if you want a sweep on either side, +450, 5 games +230, 6 games +230, 7 games +250 for a series exact score. If you think Philly's going to sweep, good luck with that. But 40-1, Philly in 5, 17-1, Philly in 6 +950, Philly in 7 +850. On the other side of the coin, Carolina in a sweep +500, Carolina in 5 +285, Carolina in 6 +350, or Carolina in 7 +425. Here's my initial impression on this series is I think the Canes are going to be well rested. They're pretty healthy. Only Nikolai Ehlers right now is day-to-day, and they still don't play again until Monday, so I'd imagine he's fine. And Philly did play them close throughout the regular season. I think they can snag a couple of games here because of the defense and the way Dan Vladar is playing, although Vladar, his career against Carolina, 1-4-1, 3.76 goals against, and an 890 save percentage here. As good as Freddie Anderson has looked in round 1, I'm not trusting that to last either, so I think maybe get a Philly victory or 2 that way. Ultimately, the Flyers are relying on a lot of young players to carry the load, while this is just a tried and true Carolina team. I would actually look at overs a lot in this series too. just based on the fact that I know Philly, but I think Carolina is going to put the press on them a little bit. I've got Carolina in 6 here. I think Philly could steal a couple of games. They're playing all right, but at the end of the day, if you're the Carolina Hurricanes, you have never had an easier path to the Stanley Cup that you will have this year. And this is not to disrespect the Flyers, but when they beat the Flyers, you're going to get an Atlantic team that is going to be beaten up from having gone through the ringer. Whoever survives that Buffalo, Boston, Tampa, Montreal, I think, and then you're going to have Carolina, who's going to have 10 games played. Let's say the series goes 6. They'll have 10 games played through 2 rounds waiting for that team that has probably played 14 games at that point. So, if there's an argument to be made for Philly winning the series, I want to hear it. I don't think this is I think Philly's done the damage they're going to do in the 2025-26 playoffs.
I think I also have Carolina in 6, right? For all the reasons that you mentioned. For the Philadelphia Flyers to get by is they pull up the game film from the Ottawa Senators side and watch it all and then do the exact opposite of what the Ottawa Senators done. That performance by the Senators was truly one of the worst I've ever seen.
Not Linus Ullmark, everybody else.
Not Linus Ullmark. Linus Ullmark is the only one who showed up. There are a lot of people that owe him an apology. A ton of people. But the rest of that team is terrible. Like, in no world should Brady, Tkachuk, and I have the same amount of points in the first round. Like, there was no care to get to the net and make Freddie Anderson's life difficult. Like, Freddie Anderson, all of a sudden, like he looks like an elite goalie. And let's not kid ourselves. He is not. He is not. So if I'm the Flyers, I understand the task at hand, right? It's to get to the net and make sure Freddie Anderson's life is extremely difficult, because the Flyers, the Senators didn't do that. They didn't do anything. Does that matter? The Carolina Hurricanes didn't even have to go out and really exert a ton of pressure or whatnot, even on the road. This was a team that led the league in shots on the road. They didn't have to go out and get out of their system and fling everything in the net. The Senators just didn't press. So yes, the Flyers have a lot of young guys, but I do think the Porter Ratones of the world understand where they need to be. And you got to go to the net and just make life for Freddie Anderson difficult. I don't think the Carolina Hurricanes are necessarily built for a ton of physicality. Yes, they have Delorier, but that, nobody's fighting him. You know what I mean? Nobody's fighting Nick Delorier. And what an absolute turner. He basically gets traded from the Flyers as a sell-off piece. Now, all of a sudden, here he is facing his former team. But there's enough for the Flyers here to get it done. I just don't know if they have it just yet. I don't know if they have the core to get it done just yet, right? If they have a great fourth line, because we saw them through that first round. They were very, very good, and they were key, and they were able to get in front of Stuart Skinner and make life difficult and throw the weight around and do all that stuff. But they have to make Freddie Anderson's life absolutely miserable. I'm talking about peak DMV hours, just the worst thing you've ever seen.
And here's the thing, and I'm not saying that you try to hurt Freddie Anderson, but when you have a goalie as fragile as him, don't you want to be in his face? Don't you want to get in there? Maybe you make him move the wrong way, and all of a sudden, I know Brandon Bussey, back in December, we were talking about Rookie of the Year and maybe long shot for the Vezina. It hasn't been that for him in the last couple of months. But yeah, if you're Philly, your goal is to get the rookie goalie out there and see what he's made of in the playoffs. And Owen Tippett, if you're a nice guy, maybe put on a little extra deodorant, because you're going to be spending a lot of time near Freddie Anderson in his kitchen. So maybe you want to at least do that, so you're smelling or maybe you don't. Maybe you want to go the BO route and try and have that working for you to give you a little more space. I mean, I'll admit, if a guy's really stinky, I'm going to push him away, but maybe I'm not going to be so quick to maybe get on top of the guy again. Nonetheless, Mishkov getting benched for a game seemed to, get him going, because he looked a lot better in game 6. He seemed to be going there. Philly has a team that can give Carolina fits, but at the end of the day, you're talking about an experienced team that has been through to the conference finals multiple times versus a young upstart team that, yes, beating Pittsburgh was impressive in the first round, but you're also getting a step up in weight class here in terms of, so they can get a couple of games. I still think Carolina gets to the conference finals, and man, they can't get to the Stanley Cup this year. I don't know. That's, again, not to knock the Atlantic, but I just think whoever comes out of there is going to be worse for the wear, considering how both the Boston Buffalo and Tampa Bay Montreal series have gone. And then pick whoever wins those series against each other. You're going to get another series like that. So Carolina's got the path here. They just need to take care of business.
No, you're 100% correct. There's no excuse for the Carolina Hurricanes. No excuse. You're the better team on paper. You're the more experienced team on paper. They're well coached. There's very little flaws in their system. Like, just do your job. Do your job, and you're going to be just fine. And for the Flyers, just make life difficult. Wait for your chances. You got to be patient. You got to wait for Carolina to open up. Take advantage of it, but get to the net, make life difficult. If you're just sitting around the perimeter like the centers were, I mean, even Freddie Anderson can look your leads.
And you mentioned the fourth line for the Flyers before. Sean Couturier having a hell of a postseason so far and just being everything that they need. So yeah, you're going to see a lot of him. I think trying to go on the Aho Jarvis line too. You're going to see that matchup a lot, especially in Philadelphia, when they can get the desired matchup they want. Now, we don't know. We know Colorado's there. I feel like Colorado's been in the second round of the playoffs since like St. Patrick's Day. They wrapped up that series against the Kings real quick. But my question to you, if there is a threat to the Avalanche getting to the conference finals, bigger threat coming from Dallas or Minnesota?
I feel like it would be Minnesota, just because I feel like they have all the pieces that are in place. I also feel like they a little bit more depth. I will say this. I think it was Daryl Sutter that said it when he was in Calgary. Like, having to face Colorado is basically just a waste of 8 days. And that's what it was for the Kings. It was a waste of 8 days. They showed up. I mean, it didn't matter. They tried, and it was a no-go. And I don't even think we saw the best version of the Colorado Avalanche, because it didn't look like it. There was one game where Nathan McKinnon had 0 shots on goal. And I was like, man, the Kings tried. They were missing. They were missing some gas there. But
they did exactly what we thought they were going to do. They were a better team on the road than they were at home. They played those 2 games in Colorado about as good as you can play them. They didn't get the wins, but they played them real tight. And then the series shifted back to LA, where they stunk at home, in Colorado. Expected.
There you go. So I do think the preference would probably be to play Dallas, although I'm sure Colorado fans have some PTSD about the last time that happened. So, but man, having to face Minnesota and watching the way that team is built, having Quinn Hughes on one side going up against Cale Makar, right? The Brock Faber, and then you got Devon Taves, and the secondary stuff there with Spurgeon and everybody. Like, it's good. It's good. Minnesota is good. The goaltending is good. The center depth will never be deep in Minnesota, but they have enough to get to at least challenge the Colorado Avalanche. Do I think they beat them? That's a different story. But I think they can go, pound for pound with them to start. And then it's about finding that edge that they need, right? It's about slowing McDavid down, right? Because don't forget, now you have Brock Nelson down the middle. You also have Nazem Kadri. That's a deep center core down the middle. That's probably one of the deeper cores left in this playoff run. So again, it's a tough matchup for Colorado either way. But if I had to pick a team, I would want to pick Dallas. That's who I want to face.
If you're Colorado, that's who you want to face. So you want to, between the two, you're trying to avoid Minnesota.
Trying to avoid Minnesota. Dallas, again, Jake Ottinger at times has just not, he hasn't looked great. Dallas's defense is good, but it kind of gets how much does Tyler Myers play and how much can I take advantage of that? You know what I mean? And then, Dallas is good, right? Yes, the offense is there, but again, Rupe Hintz is day to day with whatever he's dealing with this time. And all of a sudden that depth starts to get real thin, right? So pick the lesser of two evils here, and it's Dallas.
And here's another thing too. I'm not a big Glenn Gulletson guy. I'm not a big fan of him as a coach. I think if you're Colorado, I think Colorado beats either of these two teams. Minnesota, though, I do think would give them more of a fit because they're a little bit closer to a mirror image of Colorado in a way. They don't have the center depth that Colorado has. That's the drastic difference there. But like you said, you got Makar, we got Hughes. So you got that big driving, puck-moving defenseman that can handle everything. Both sides have that. Both sides have good blue lines overall. Again, Colorado has that center depth down the middle. If you were going to make a goaltend, Minnesota has a little bit of a goaltending edge, I would think, too. All of St. Paul playing the way he's playing there, and you go to Gustafsson if for some reason he starts to falter, so you have a great plan B in that. Whereas Dallas, if you get Jake Ottinger playing the way we know Jake Ottinger can play, now I think maybe you'd rather see Minnesota over Dallas. But the way Jake Ottinger's been playing, where he's been up and down, like you said, if I'm Colorado, I'll take my chances against Dallas. Last year's playoffs aside, put that aside, that was last year. And yeah, I think Minnesota would give them a little bit more of a fit. But we'll see after tonight if we know that matchup or if we're going to be going to a game 7. Now, just to look at the game 7 schedules there. If we have a game 7 for Minnesota, Dallas, it'll be Saturday. Same for Anaheim, Edmonton. For the 3 series going tomorrow night on Friday, Buffalo, Boston, Utah, Vegas, and Tampa, Montreal. Those would game 7s would be on Sunday. I already mentioned that we know for sure that for Carolina, Philly, that series is going to start on Monday. Will they have another game going for? I think if Minnesota closes it out tonight, you'll see Minnesota, Colorado probably go on Monday night too. But I would say if that happens. I'm not in the NHL scheduling department, so I have no idea. I'm going to start looking up building availability for all these teams to make sure there's no concerts or anything. Go ahead. Don't forget the Avalanche, but as long as the Nuggets are still alive, they share a building. Celtics and Bruins, as long as they're still alive, they share a building. So a couple of teams in the playoffs still having shared buildings left. I think that's all. Philly, although I don't think the Sixers are going to Celtics, so that. But yeah, there you go. We've ran through all 5 games. We previewed the series between Carolina and Philly. We gave our thoughts on Colorado, Minnesota. But next week, we're going to have our next Total Hockey Now. It'll be 5 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Pacific. Playoff picks and more. Obviously not going to have as many games to discuss. Series will have started by then. We'll start talking maybe some futures as well next week. But what do you got coming up on the Slapshot podcast?
Once we figure out who everybody's playing, then we're going to break down those matchups. And just like I did in the first round, which you don't have to go back and watch, obviously, because I was 100% correct on every single matchup, I'm going to keep that streak going and have 100% correct take for each of the matchups in round 2. So if you lock in, again, I'm hoping they can get this done on Saturday. Everybody does their job Friday and Saturday, and then Sunday that can drop. If not, listen, maybe, you wake up Monday morning, on your way to work, commuting, in the shower, maybe you're listening to Slapshot Podcast and filling out the rest of your bracket.
What I hope for the second round is I would think overall we've had a pretty good first round. I know we had 2 sweeps and that's, not ideal, but I think we've had a really good first round. I hope there's not a second round letdown, because I feel like that happens where if you get a ho-hum first round, you get a really strong second round. If you get a really good first round, a little bit of a letdown in that second round. So
we didn't have to have a first round sweep in the West if we had a better playoff format, Gary, because the Kings would have never been there. But
would have gone Carolina, Philly in the first round. That would have been an interesting matchup if you had gone the original way there. Yeah. Here's the other thing we have to keep in mind too. Next round, second round, that's our last chance for real double headers, because then after that they just stagger the games. It's every other night at that point. So for us on the West Coast that like to watch hockey after dinner, like the rest of the country, our time is winding down for this NHL season. And of course, got a few more rip and riffs with myself and at Mr. Jared Moore coming up on Monday for the next few weeks before we take our summer hiatus. Any closing thoughts, Mr. Merez?
If it does go to game 7 between the Habs and Tampa Bay, Monday, I listen, Monday might just be an absolute wreck for 2 different reasons. I might have to take Monday off no matter what, because I'll either be extremely sad and being unable to get out of bed, or recovering from stuff. So
we'll find out. And if I have to, I'm on the other side of the country. Maybe I'll send Ann up I-87. We'll check on you.
Just knock and be like, hey, you breathing? And I'll be like, yeah, I'm good.
He'll bring some boneless wings. He's not going to come empty-handed.
Yes, of course.
Of course, he knows. Yeah, he'll bring the wing stop for it. But nice. For Fuzzy Chris 91, I am at Pucking Thoughts, Adam Bernard. Playoff mode, it's great. And you know what else is right around the corner? Mocky season. You're getting those mock drafts going again real soon. So ESPN Fantasy Hockey, we love you at least for the next 2 weeks. But for at Fuzzy Chris 91, at Pucking Thoughts, Adam Bernard, like, subscribe. Thanks for watching, whether it's live on play. We'll talk to you again next Thursday for more playoff talk here on Total Hockey Now.